Welcome back to the 6 a.m. Club where we start our day inspired. I hope you're having a great week and that you're having a great start of your weekend or whenever you're listening to this short episode today. As every weekend, I have a new quote for you, and here we go with today's quote. Today's quote says, "The more you find yourself doing things you love, the more you love yourself for doing them." Let me repeat it one more time. The more you find yourself doing things that you love, the more you love yourself for doing them. And I want you to reflect on this just for a second, because a lot of times we go through life quickly and running and jumping from one thing to the next without paying attention on what really do we love doing. Do you know what you love doing? If I were to ask you, what are the things that you love to do, would you be able to answer that question? I find out that sometimes we can't even answer that question. And a lot of times it takes experimenting with different things until we find the ones that we actually love. Sometimes we think we love things just because is what everyone else loves or what is trending or what we see other people doing. But what do you truly love? If you have an answer to that question, you might be a step or two ahead of many other people. Because the truth is, in the hectic lives that we live, in this hectic world that we're part of, a lot of times it's hard to identify, to really know what are the things that we love. Now, as you experiment different things and you find the things that you love, once you do them frequently. Do more of those things. Add more of those things to your life. Because I find that a lot of times we sacrifice the things that we love for the things that we believe we have to do. We have to do because that's what we're supposed to do. We have to do because that's what we've been told to do. Because what other people does. Because we want to do and have more. But at the end of the day, the things that are gonna bring us joy and make us happy are the things that we love, and doing more of those things. And the more we do those things, the more they become part of who we are, to the point that if for whatever reason one day we don't practice those things, we feel like we're not ourselves anymore. And the more we do the things that we love, as the quote says, the more we love ourselves for doing those things. For me, for example, some of those things are this podcast. As hard as it was to get started, as afraid as I was to get started, I've been doing it for 4 years. And a lot of people ask me, how do I manage to do it in the midst of everything else that I have to do in my life, like work, like taking care of my kids, like everything, right? And the answer is because I love doing this, because I love who I am when I'm doing this, because it brings me joy. And I'm not willing to let that feeling go away. In one past episode of this podcast, I asked you to write down a joy list. Maybe starting a note on your phone or on your journal. Just write down the things that bring you joy. What are those things? I am sure that among those things that bring you joy, you can find the things that you love. They're probably one and the same. And for me, doing this podcast is one of those things. If there is a week that for whatever reason I don't record a podcast, I feel like something is missing, like I'm not myself anymore. So finding the time to record a podcast is not a problem. I'm looking forward to make the time to record the podcast because it makes me feel more me. Another example for me is working out. When I started working out a few years ago, it was hard. It was hard to make it a habit. Now I work out every day. In the last 3 weeks, I have been traveling, and it is hard. It has been hard to keep up with my workout routine while traveling because I've been waking up extra early to be on airports, or I was super tired because of the travel, and it has become a vicious circle. I love working out. I love how I feel when I work out, and I love who I become when I work out. I am a better version of me when I work out. I know that. That's why I am very intentional about building that into my morning routine. Now, as I said, in the last 3 weeks, I haven't been consistent with that, and I don't love how I feel. I don't love who I am. I don't love myself for not working out. I do love myself for being consistent with my workouts. So my question for you is, what are those things for you? What are things that you love? And don't worry about what other people might think of you because you love those things, right? It doesn't matter what other people think. What matters is what you think and how you feel about yourself when you're doing those things. So my call to action for you today, my invitation for you today, because I always like to end these episodes with a call to action, would be for you to make a list of what are the things that you love doing. What are the things that you love spending time? What are the things that bring you joy? Make a list and start doing more of those things. And as you start to do more of those things and you become more consistent about doing those things, I want you to reflect on this quote today. And I'm going to repeat it to you one more time. The more you find yourself doing things you love, the more you love yourself for doing them. And if you have a hard time visualizing what these things are or how this quote can be true for you, I want you to go back in time when you were a kid. Did you practice any sports that you really, really enjoy, that you were looking forward to go to practice and go play with your friends? Didn't you feel more of yourself? Didn't you love yourself when you were practicing that sport or that hobby, whatever that was? And sometimes in trying to find the things that we love today, we need to go back in time and explore the things that we have loved in the past. And maybe try to revive some of those things and see if there's still things that we love, that we enjoy, that bring us joy. So that is my invitation for you today. I hope that you have a great week ahead, and I can't wait to talk to you again on another episode of the Leading Yourself podcast.